painting across time and space. How's your day been so far?
It's been wonderful. We've got our steps in this morning.
For sure. Have you recently, did you fly in just for this show? Were you here for a while, or?
Yes, I came in, not last night, but the night before, about 12 o'clock. And I arrived, I got here at about 6 p.m. So I walked off a flight, did my hair, and very well, yeah. And then walked into the
How's the jet lag?
It's totally fine actually, we're doing alright. We don't have it, I know, but I think we just like hang on life. There's a lot of positive energy, wonderful vibes from everyone. It's really energized and feeling 15 years old.
Well, wow, I think the time when you were announced to being here on stage is like, in a way, the time just blinked, it just so fast. And, you know, as you look back on that time and think of, you know, all the angst, all the stress, all the anticipation beforehand, and then now being here, as you look back, what are your thoughts? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think the thing we really chat about is the fact of how quick it goes, because as well, we shoot for such a long time. Like season 1 and 2, I think we shot for like 9 months. The last season was a year, just under a year. And you know, the time span, I think altogether was about 4 and a bit years. Was it? Certainly from me, kind of finding out that I was going to get to play the Doctor, to that, and it's just gone. But the wonderful thing is, because it was such a joy and it was such an extraordinary time. It just is this huge, positive kind of state in your mind and soul that, you know, no matter what, even though that moment is gone, those memories can never be taken away, and we can always kind of relive it with everyone and just continue to, you know, you can't kick us out of the Doctor Who family. We're in it now. We're here. I think the great thing is, part of Jodie and I's personality is that we were very present. So while it was happening, we enjoyed every minute of it. So there's also no regrets. When I look back, I think I was just so present at every point, from the minute I got it right until the end. And I think it started to dawn on me how amazing the experience was as time goes on, we're further and further away. And I'm realising, like, it doesn't just end because we've stopped filming. We get to do all this amazing stuff until we're old. She's old.
And believe me, as you know, Who fans, as passionate they are, they will be following you around to all the ends of the globe for the rest of your life. We gotta pause. Was the shirts just a coincidence, or what's happening?
I was so excited yesterday. I was like, can't wait to shoot a t-shirt tomorrow. And I was so excited, and then I thought, oh, she's done it too, and she's got me. But I really approve, and we look like twins.
Lovely. So we've had a great weekend. We've had doctors, we've had companions, Billy and Piper just off the stage, and we've asked all of them, like, you know, early on, how you got into the entertainment industry. I know that you studied music and, you know, dance.
Music, well, I know.
Well, as a child.
No, basically, I went to a drama school that was also a music conservatoire, and I absolutely died out on that, considering I can't even play one instrument. So it's just acting for me. My education was films. That's what I did. I went to the odd drama club. I have no other skills except playing pretend, and it's the only thing. I think I'm an amazing dancer. I don't know if that's a qualification. My own arrogance. Why don't we see it? I wouldn't give in to peer pressure, no way.
So, at a young age, you had aspirations to be in the entertainment industry.
Oh my God, from being a child, and also I was really lucky, like all my cinema influences, because I'm a little bit, tiny bit older than Mandip. All my references are kind of the 80s, and cinema at that time, you know, you think of it, of the exposure as kids that we all had to these incredible stories, like for me, Goonies, and you know, kind of revisiting now, like all the Indiana Jones as well, so that I'm, you know, ready for the next one, and just this incredible the time as a child watching cinema, watching films like E.T. and being taken on these extraordinary journeys, but realising, I think it was a moment watching Goonies where you just thought, it's someone's job. I mean, I was sliding down that water slide and finding a load of treasure, a job, and I want that job. And so that for me, I was like, right. And so it was very naive that it wasn't necessarily going to work out, but it did! Yay! So it's just, I think that was the thing, and I was at a school at a time, and I think you were, where the kind of idea of wanting to do something like this was treated like a hobby, and I think that that's the most disheartening thing when even if your family is supporting you and your friends behind you, if society still considers the arts as a hobby or a sideline, it's like if you took art and culture out of our societies, what we would all be missing, and sometimes the attitude towards it when we were younger that it wasn't a proper job. So I'm here to tell you it is.
Yesterday we had Sean Austin from Goonies sitting on that very couch just right now. But it's wild to think that, just like how shows a movie like that and they act like that inspired you to get into acting, that there are a legion of people who are watching you and also being inspired to do the next thing in life. And so, have you discovered that as you encountered fandom?
Yeah, I think that's the thing with you guys, the Whovians. You're just so articulate and beautiful at explaining what the world means to you or what a particular episode means to you. And I think me and you particularly weren't necessarily quite naive to that before we got into it. And it's been so beautiful to know that it's you can't predict who it reaches and who it moves. And we're just so lucky that we're just this like ginormous family that have got the same love, and also it was there before us, we're a moment, and it'll carry on a long time after, and we can then be a part of the fandom and the audience now, because we've passed on our batons. Do you want to speak?
Mandip, how about
I'm just looking at Jodie, I've missed her so much. It's been the longest time we haven't seen each other, it's been months.
Mandip, how about you? Like, how did you get into...
I think it was more of a selfish route. I'm one of 7 kids. One of the youngest, so I think it was just more of a thing of trying to entertain and probably get attention, and also it was massively encouraged. So when I look back at videos, it was so annoying.
It was encouraged?
Yeah, I used to get paid like 50p to sing like Hindi love songs to my brother, just kind of weird, a reflection. So I think it was more of a selfish thing. I actually didn't really know people did it until I got to about 8 or 9, and then I used to see people that looked a little bit like me on television. So I was like, oh my god, they're actually on television. We sort of as a family didn't really know how to navigate that world. So I was only ever doing it like plays at school, and then it was actually my education that helped me go further and further at school. They were like, we think you've got something, because I never wanted to do anything else really but other than be an actress. But we didn't know how to do it, so it was always education that went. At primary school, we encouraged it. At high school, they helped me get to college. College helped me get to university. University helped me get an agent. So I've always really had help from my education. But I think later it wasn't as selfish. Well, in a way, it almost felt like that's literally what I was here to do. I never really questioned it. I was like, duh, that's what I do. and thankfully it's worked out. But yeah, really, it was a selfish thing. And now, obviously, when you do such a show like this, you realise it's actually not for you. It's for other people. When you watch it, you go, I love doing it, but this stuff is for other people. So.
And you're born in UK, but you have Indian descent. Do you have any family, friends that are in India that are, what's their awareness of?
I don't have friends anywhere. No, so a lot of my family are in England. Actually, my family don't really they know what I do, obviously, but no one's really like, oh my god, she's on television. It's just keep it real. Yeah, and I'm like, Ma'am, can you see that magazine? Because I'm on that. She's like, oh, we saw that. That just is not like, we were living in newsagents growing up. I did other shows, I still worked in my dad's shop. Whilst I was doing Doctor Who, I'd still go to their shop, talk to people that I've seen growing up. It's not actually a thing away from London. No press by you, will you, babe?
I'll show pictures of mine. mom, like this picture, you'll see it say, "Why did you tuck your shirt in?" You shame. So tell us, as you approach this role, no one, all the doctors, I've had the privilege, you're actually completing, I've had the privilege to host all the doctors, the modern doctors. Yeah, so, and none of them grew up thinking, I'm going to be the doctor someday. I mean,
yeah, well, I certainly didn't.
Yeah, it's impossible, right? And so, as the opportunity came about, did it seem like it was a possibility, and how did that all transpire?
Well, so Christian Gill, who was our showrunner, had written Broadchurch, and obviously it's a completely different role. He was, we were really good friends, and I think the thing, if someone had seen Broadchurch, they would have never said come and audition for the Doctor. But he knows me in between scenes, and the kind of, the person in once you say cut, and the fidgeter and slightly hyperactive and completely distracted and then off on a tangent and all those kind of things. And we met up for a coffee during our kind of press junket time for one of the seasons, and he'd already been announced as the showrunner, so I asked him if I could be a baddie. And he was like, actually, I'd really love you to consider auditioning for the Doctor. And I was like, sorry, what? So that in itself was the most curveball conversation, but once that seed is planted, I mean, it's like the toy shop door has been creaked open, and then you try and get your wrench in to like open it. So I was like, I have to get this role. And I had a good few months of really trying to do the best tapes, the best auditions, the best stalking. I really went to town. And I was really lucky because he felt that it was a fit. And weirdly, like I never thought I would say this, but the Doctor is the most of myself really than any of the roles that I've done. And that was the thing that I thought, how am I going to play the Doctor? And Chris was wonderful at guiding me to just go, you need to, it's so much more instinctive than you think. And yeah, it was so fun because of that, because I just felt that all my kind of quirks and I suppose edges that kind of slightly exhaust other people, I was allowed to put into a role, and everyone went, well done. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Most people find this irritating, but it's a character choice now.
Well, of course, everyone in the UK knows who Doctor Who is, but growing up...
I wasn't from a Who house.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't a Whovian house at all, and I was very nervous at that when I said that in my audition. I was like, we didn't really watch it. And, I've got mates that have been in it, and so obviously in the new, like modern Doctors, there was a lot of like references as in I got friends in episodes. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. But the weirdest thing is it's culturally for us, our vocabulary is peppered with like Whovian terms. I knew what TARDIS was without sitting and watching it from being, 7. So it was wonderful because it's a wealth of information that you can always go into, but the wonderful thing was for us that if we didn't have that encyclopedic knowledge, it didn't exclude us, and I think for us our seasons felt as if we wanted to say, look, if you've never seen this before, you don't know what it is, that's okay. You don't need to have all this, you don't need a dissertation to come and watch it, and we really felt passionate about that.
And the 13th representing that fresh start. Kind of was.
Yeah, and the most beautiful thing is we are a tiny cog in this, and just the joy of all the carrots that every season brings. Like every writer's created, obviously past seasons and then our ones, but we've worked in bits where it's been explained to us. Oh, this is from one of the first ever episodes. I'm like, oh my god, how amazing that that's been like put into one of our scenes.
Mandip, how about you? Like, how aware were you of it, and then how did you get the role?
Very similar to what Jodie said, is that you're very aware of it in England, what it is. I'd worked on another job in the same studio the same year, and they were, I've mentioned this story before, they were like, oh, we can't use that door, it's for the cast of Doctor Who. And straight away I just thought, that's never going to be me. For no other reason than, I don't know, like, I'd had friends in it, like, maybe it's an accent thing as well, I sound very different to the people that were in it. But I was like, that would never be me, that's just not an opportunity that I didn't think I'd have. and then the same year I got the job. So I hadn't watched a lot of Doctor Who, but definitely knew what it was. My brother-in-law was a really big fan, and he'd said very early on in my career, like, if you ever get an episode of Doctor Who, I have to come and be your bodyguard. As if I'd need a bodyguard anyway. But I was like, oh my god, that'd be amazing if I did get an episode. So when this part came around, I also didn't know it was for a companion, because it was very like, yeah, very hush-hush. So I was super excited just to be auditioning anyway for a show that I thought was unattainable. And then to have gotten it, I got the call, started crying, put the phone down, and thought, I actually don't even know what that part was for. So I had to call back and was like, sorry, how many episodes? She's like, did they not tell you? I was like, no. She's like, it's for the companion. Then I cried a bit more. I couldn't tell anyone for ages, but I just knew it was an exciting thing for my career, but also to be able to go back and say to my family, this iconic show and this show that you've been going on about, and I don't need a bodyguard, and I still don't.
So when you were first announced as a doctor, you know, if you've noticed, the internet has opinions about things. You know,
I think they were all 100% positive.
And,
that's what I was told.
So, you know, some people have talks about being the first female doctor. So as you kind of look back on it and see, how do you feel like the conversation has shifted? How do you feel like playing the doctor has affected that idea?
I don't know, I suppose in the, you know, it's so weird, the conversation for myself is because I've never approached any role on how do I play Beth Latimer as a woman playing Beth Latimer. I've never, you know, it's never been a part of my mindset when playing a role. And so to me, the Doctor was the ultimate in anyone qualifying because I'm playing an alien. So if you wanted to be method, then you're going to have to do a really long audition process to try and find someone who is really authentic. And so for me it felt, I know what the kind of concerns were, but in that sense, I just, you know, that's not gonna be the soundtrack of my mind in any way, and no one's opinion I kind of was ever gonna be baked with any of those. But I suppose what it did feel like was, particularly in this show, was that, you know, it's incredible, but what is exciting is that it becomes not a part of the conversation as well, because I'm already not the only female doctor. So to me, it's old news, and that's what it needs to be, you know, in that sense. But it was, you know, it's 2017, so it was, you know, it was time. So, you know, but it's really exciting that what it is now is that we are all the Doctor. Everyone who plays that role, we are a family of doctors. And it's, you know, it's a wonderful family to be a part of.
2017, before the pandemic, feels like it was like 20 years ago. Right?
Yeah, I know.
So long ago. And as we talked about many times here on stage over the weekend, how important representation is, how important it is to see someone who looks like yourself on the screen, and how that changes you at a young age, and it kind of informs you as you grow up. And I gotta imagine that you've had so many fans come up to you and just tell you how important it has been. Even though the Doctors comes in all shapes and sizes and forms, that being a first female doctor, how much of that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing that's really beautiful is seeing people, I think for both of us, seeing people wear your costume and realising that it fits all. You know, that's it. And that, you know, regardless of however, you know, whoever you are, you're the Doctor in the costume, and it's beautiful, and it felt like it represented me, but it feels like it represents so many different people as well, and I think that that's what's wonderful about it, and that, you know, we've always been, you know, it's been expected, as I can only speak as like my own experience, but as a woman, I had that thing of, you know, it was never a question that you didn't look up to men. You know, of course you do, in that sense of like, of course a man can be a role model to you, but when it's flipped the other way, there's like suddenly, like, oh, but you know, who are the boys going to look up to now? It's like, no, that's still okay. I'm still fine. You can look up. But, you know, but anyone, and it's interesting for all of us, and whether, you know, once you're in these characters, it doesn't matter who plays that role. If you identify with and have a love and an affinity to that that role, and I think that's the joy of Doctor Who, is there's someone for everyone there, and I think the themes of inclusivity are the most important, and our show celebrates that on a global scale in a beautiful way, and I think that's what makes us so proud of it.
Yeah. And I think the only thing to add is it's not just important to see yourself, it's also a place where people learn stuff, so it's also important to see other people. If you're not used to seeing, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure we're all used to seeing people of colour, but apparently back in the day we weren't, in 2017. It's also there to teach other people, I think. It's all well saying, you know, it's great to see ourselves, but we only need to look around and see our family, we see ourselves. It's there to teach people.
Wonderful.
Every time we say
Well, we have some awesome fans that are here, so let's go over here.
Hi.
The 13th Doctor can ask you questions.
Hi, Jodie Mandip. I've forgotten everything I was going to say. I'm so
Sing a song.
I want to say thank you, Jodie, for playing the Doctor and kind of breaking through that barrier for us and doing such a brilliant job with it. I would love to play the Doctor myself one day, and I never even considered that until the day you were announced. And Mandip, I can be your friend if you want.
I won't.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
My question is for both of you. I was just wondering, Jodie answered this already, but I already had it ready, kind of what your inspiration was that you pulled from when developing your characters and their mannerisms and such. Like, I know Jodie was already friends with David, so maybe she had kind of thought of him when thinking about the Doctor.
I did. I'm so irritated. All right. No, but can I tell you one of my influences?
Yeah.
Doc Brown. Not rip-off. It was just there's moments of homage. There we go, that's that.
I think I was inspired by me. No. No, do you know what I think I tried to do throughout? I don't know if you came across the mannerisms, I was constantly aware that the companions are sort of like the gateway for the audience. So I tried to be relatable I tried to be like emotionally relatable, that kind of stuff, and just constantly open and just be the audience, how the audience might ask that question, might think that question, might take the response of the Doctor, would they be offended? It was constantly going, I'm not just playing Yaz, I'm playing everybody who's watching it going, asking those questions. But I think in terms of mannerisms, I'd like to think she's definitely different to me and less handy and all that kind of stuff. Because actually we're quite similar in that sense, isn't it? Like talking like that. But then when you see her doing it, you're like, two people can't be miming.
Let's go over here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Khaleesi. It feels like I've kind of been stalking you all, but I have. So basically, how did you feel when you first get the role, and then how did you feel when it ended? Because I know I cried for like a good 5 minutes.
So getting the role was a bit of a mixed bag for me because I was obviously delighted, I really wanted it, and then I mean this with the utmost respect to it, I knew that suddenly put me in a goldfish bowl as well, because I'm friends with David, and I knew full well that if you play the Doctor in Doctor Who, people are probably going to know who you are on a different level to the work I'd done before. So there was so much excitement, but there was a sense of nervousness for me because I was so worried about how that would affect my family and my life day to day. And I have to say, all those concerns are just, you know, it's only ever been positive interaction. So it was never the terrifying, what I thought it was going to be was like, you know, you won't have seen it, but in Notting Hill, there's a character played by recent fans, and he comes out with his arms. It's like those where he went, and I was like, oh my god, it's going to be like that. And then it wasn't, and I was a bit like, oh. You know, but I'm happy it wasn't. But then in the end, oh my gosh, my bottom lip, when I could see all the heads of department checking that the take was good, was usable, And the director was saying, are you happy? Is everyone happy? Is makeup happy? Is Coyne, the cameraman, are you happy? And everyone's nodding. And I was like, they better be happy now because the globs of water are coming out of my eyes. And to say, I mean, 5 minutes, it was about 8 hours. I was just so emotional. And I could still cry thinking about it because it's a grief in a way that is full of happiness, but just so sad to let it go. I cried when I got it, and I a little bit cried when it ended. But I just, hang on, ice cream, we're going to eat loads of ice cream. No, but when Joy said, like, there were real tears, because you're not just saying bye to the characters, it really dawned on me that was saying, sort of like, not bye to each other, we see each other, but every single day, saying bye to the crew, saying bye to Wales. When I watched that scene back recently, and I nearly cried for myself. I was like, oh my God, you poor thing, Lord. But when I got it, I knew how exciting it was. I hadn't done that much work actually on reflection when I got it, so I just knew I was so excited to do it. There wasn't a single thing I was worried about. Actually, I was worried about the weather in Wales, so I bought myself some Doc Martens. It rains a lot, but we do love Wales.
Thank you. All right, please go ahead.
Hello again.
Hi, we'll try and be a bit more succinct actually because it takes 20 minutes to answer each one.
So my question is was it daunting to change the status quo with companions? The last time that we had seen multiple companions was with Matt Smith, with Amy Pond and Rory. So was it daunting to have 3 companions in the TARDIS?
I think for us, because it's all we knew, it felt like totally at home and normal. And then obviously for us, when Brad and Toast weren't in it was then John. I think we noticed then we were kind of, it's like, oh, we've gone down to a 3. But because it'd always been 4 of us, we were in a situation where it was apparent from the crew because they'd shot on like smaller teams in a way, and actually it takes a lot longer to get everybody's coverage. But you were forever kind of going, oh yeah, we need to really make sure everybody gets their bit. And I think production-wise, it worked energy-wise, it worked story-wise, but actually when you're shooting, there was a lot of efficiency that was required to get everybody, and especially when Brad had decided to sit down on a chair in the corner somewhere else, because apparently his character would sit in this very dramatic scene. So it was things like that. But as far as for us, that was all we knew.
No, also as well, like when you go in it, Chris is confident that that's going to work. We're called the fan, and you're excited. You sort of like say, don't know any different, and you think this is the right way to head it. Like you say, it's happened before, so it wasn't scary at all. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so I noticed that John Barrowman has made several appearances on Doctor Who, and I was wondering if any of you have any memories you'd like to share about him?
So yes, we had within our storyline, we were like all together at certain times. We had a lovely time. It was amazing, wasn't it? We had such a fun time. We were within a cast that were very. It was a huge ensemble. You guys are better at this. Me and Mandip are terrible at the titles of the episode. No, tell them why though. I'll tell you why. It's because they're not on the scripts ever, and we don't get told what they're called, and then we get told after it goes out. So by that point, we've given them a totally different title that we made up. But for us, there was such an ensemble of us that it was just like playtime. We were having it was really fun, and everyone was really supportive of each other. And obviously, some of us are new. Well, we weren't at that point, but we had guest artists in it that had never been on it. Obviously, you've got John, who's been on various, been with other doctors, other companions, things like that. So it's always wonderful when that overlaps, because it brings lots of energy.
And also lots of crew remembered John, so when he got there, he was like a little celebrity for them.
Thank you. Hi, go ahead.
Hi. My question is actually about the doctor's costume. You gave an interview ages ago saying that each piece of the costume was a conscious decision.
Yes.
So the jacket, the dark color was the universe and space, the light color was supposed to be the sky, and that you couldn't divulge the rest of it, but like one day you'd say what it all meant. So I was actually hoping to see what it all meant, because I never saw it.
Right. Have I never said? So, coat. So the most important part for me, the coat has pockets. You get it. So there's pockets. But there's no buttons or buttonholes because I didn't want anything that was unnecessary. For me, it was never going to be something that I fastened. It was always going to be what felt like this beautiful extension of air and space and to create movement and things. And I think the wonderful thing that Ray put in was he put weights in the bottom of the coat, so there was such a fluidity to it the whole time, and it gave it its own shape. The shape was a kind of homage to Amelia Earhart in the kind of cut of it. There's inside, the suffragettes colours were on the inside of the sleeves. There was my beautiful bright stripes all the way on the inside of the lining, and then within the trousers there was a lot of references that I'd say to Ray, and then he'd come back with these beautiful ideas. But there were things like the material was made. Some of the material of my costume was made in my hometown. Some of my socks were Welsh, and it was things like that. That there was like details where they were as relevant to necessarily the Doctor, but there was bits that were kind of made it personal to the where Doctor Who set, but then also for us and me personally. But the whole thing is a collaboration. I really wanted a hood. I didn't use it as much as I should have done, but I really wanted it. But what I didn't factor in was that it's always freezing and I was always cold. Always cold. And these guys were like, I think my character had 4 jumpers in this scene, or 4 sweatshirts, and I was like, okay, just, but the whole thing of it was the detail. The earring was, it was the stars coming down, and it was 2 hands, and it was to represent my hands and like humanity on the other ear, holding hands. But just the whole thing was so magical because Ray, obviously the costume designer, designed it, but I felt like I had such an input that I could confidently go, I came up with some of that. It was so beautiful, but it's your own. You own it, and every Doctor gets to do that, and that is a gift because you don't often get that on jobs. Thank you. I hope that gave me some insight.
No, beautiful.
Hi, I'm Rose. This is my first Awesome Con.
Nice to meet you.
And I was wondering what your favorite episode shooting was.
Go on. I think I've got 2. I think it was Demons of the Punjab because it really resonated with me. It was beautiful. It was just really nice to have for Chris and Vinay to have written an episode that was very specific for Yaz, the character, I think. And then the second one was Rosa Parks, kind of similar with me because it resonated with me. But I also got actors in there were brilliant. The sound was great. I thought it looked amazing. So those, and I really enjoy the historical episodes being in the sci-fi genre with reality and like that.
I think mine, I definitely agree with those because also we were so lucky because we were in Spain in one of the episodes in South Africa, and that, what a gift of a job that is. But I think the one that really, for me, will always be the most precious is The Woman Who Fell to Earth, because it gave me the best entrance ever into any character. I got my own little soundtrack when I stood up, and it just, the whole thing of it, and also the transition of finding the Doctor throughout and finding who I wanted to be and finding these guys and the chemistry, and then the hero speech of realising and knowing who you are, and then at the end of it kind of creating this costume and this look. I absolutely loved it, and I thought, if this is how we're starting, this is just going to be the time of my life. And it was. Thank you for that.
Well, as we sort of conclude our time, what's next for you? Take a breather, and as you kind of look at the future, what do you see for yourself?
Well, I don't know for both of us. I think it's just more that what you want to do is be continually challenged and to not repeat. And the wonderful thing about Doctor Who is you're never going to read something and go, oh, it reads like Doctor Who. It's like it doesn't, nothing does. So I think for both of us, it's just to push the boundaries of our abilities, and to always, we've said this before, but it's like a good feeling when you're scared. When you read something and you're scared, that's a great feeling because you're like, okay, this is going to keep me on my toes, and it's going to be challenging. But I think, there's, for all of us, there's obviously television, but both, well, recently I saw Mandip in a play, you know, I haven't done a play in over 10 years, I would love to do one, but because of it being in London as well, we're so lucky that that's a part of it as well, it's not just filming, that there's theatre as well, and I think it's just about us, just being lucky enough to work, because that's all, isn't it? You never want to take it for granted, and you just always want to contribute.
Anything?
Exactly what she said. I think as well, for me, definitely, I've been really choosy and stuff, which means that I'm really unemployed. For me, I can't do anything that's not on par with Doctor Who, I'm just way more choosy. You spend a lot of time when, you know, if you're fortunate to get work, we spent 4.5 years doing this. It's got to be something that I enjoy, that pushes certain stories that I'm interested in, that challenges me. So I am super, super choosy, but massively unemployed if anyone's listening. Come as a two.
I do want to let everyone know that I thought it was the last time that Mandip, you have a special companion duo photo op with Billy Piper coming up soon here at 12:40. So if you're interested in that, go on the Awesome Hop website or go down to the Epic booth in Hall A. You can purchase that and get a great photo op with Mandip and Billy. So, but thank you, too, for joining us.
Thank you.